Hey guys, what's up? This is the Demon Corpse, and today we'll be talking about Xbox. And crazy enough, looks like Walmart and Best Buy are going to be discontinuing physical media. But don't worry, you can still buy your video games. Don't worry, they're not going to discontinue that. They're just going to be discontinuing DVDs and Blu-rays. So, not that shocked. I don't even know who buys Blu-rays. I mean, old DVDs. There are people who do. There are collectors out there, but I mean, Blu-ray is not even like, the main thing people use. People still use DVDs, so I'm not shocked. Or even Ultra Blu-ray DVDs for movies. I mean, yeeks. But as a whole, the looks like Walmart is thinking about discontinuing Xbox physical copies, and I'm not shocked. I mean, most Xbox users have a Series S, and that's like 75%. That's what from the records that came out, like information we got. So yeah, 75% of Xbox users own a Series S, and 25% own a Series X, and there's probably a small percentage that's mostly me with an Xbox One X or an Xbox One system because they're all combined together because that's the Xbox One area. And what's crazy enough, more people are buying an Xbox One. People are still buying Xbox Ones more than the Series X. That's nuts. And that's just probably branding because most people are confused because kind of just how it is because they Xbox is really bad at naming systems. That's just kind of how it is. But I would say what's interesting enough about what's going on is this is nothing new. And I would say Walmart and Best Buy, well, if Best Buy would do the same thing, but Walmart may do a massive clearance, and I would say go get yourself a physical. If it's something that you know it's going to be somewhat valuable, grab two copies if it's a good deal, and maybe open one and keep one just to keep, to invest and just never open it and then wait 20 years, let's just say. Because what's happening is nothing new. This happened with Dreamcast. This happened with the Sega Saturn. This happened with the Wii U. Even the GameCube. All of these systems were, I would say, not that successful. They weren't successful systems, and the games are worth a lot of money now. And this is just because they didn't sell well. That's just how it is. Dreamcast, I believe it did sell a little well, but it had issues. Well, the issues were more piracy, but besides that, these systems were not very successful, and now they're very expensive just to collect for. And it's going to be the same thing with the not the Xbox One, maybe the Series X, maybe if how many physical copies there will be getting a release because of how Xbox does things. Because Xbox has a very specific how they do little print runs and the physical print runs. That's why you don't really see that many interesting games get released. It's always the blandish games, if you know what I mean. It's always like first person shooters, third person shooters, some RPGs, Japanese RPGs maybe, but that's pretty rare. But if you know what I mean. But if you really look at it, the Master System is kind of like the OG Xbox, if you know what I mean. They both weren't that very successful at the time. The OG Xbox was a little bit more successful, if you know what I mean, but I mean it wasn't like the PS2, where the PS2 just had that whole market share. Then there's the PS. Then there's the Sega Genesis and the 360 that probably have the same as similarities. They were both very successful systems. The only difference is the 360 was very successful in Europe in all regions. The 360 was extremely successful for what Xbox created, aka Microsoft. And I know someone's going to say, well, technically, it wasn't successful in Japan. It was successful. It was for an actual American system, it was very successful. Because you also need to understand, Xbox was just told a bunch of Japanese studios, make whatever you want. We're not going to tell you what to do. We're not going to. If you want to make a visual novel, we'll support it. If you want to make a shoot 'em up, we'll support it. We don't care. Make what Japanese people want. That's what Xbox told. Well, Xbox Japan told a bunch of Japanese studios, and they're like, "Oh, nice," and that's what they did. They support the system, and that's why we have very interesting Japanese 360 games that we never got over here. We did get some, but not all of them. And I believe whoever the CEO who launched the Xbox One, I think they were looking at statistics and saw, hey, the 360 is very popular in Japan. And he probably didn't know why it was very successful. He thought the 360 was probably big because of Call of Duty or something, probably like that. Because over here, it was the first-person shooter system, the somewhat RTS type of system as well, and Western RPG system, not Japanese system. Over there, it was a otaku system, to be more precise, because of all the wacko games that got released. And I believe when he saw all these weird games, he was like, "This is not what we want. We want people to play Call of Duty. Give them Call of Duty. That's what they actually want." If you want to be somewhat concrete on what he thought, and when they did that, when they told all these Japanese studios, "Yeah, we don't want you to make these games anymore. We don't," and that's when all of them just left, and that plummeted the 360 in Japan around, I believe, after 2010. So yeah, this is it's always Xbox. Like, Xbox makes dumbass mistakes, because I don't think if they ever did that, the Xbox One will probably be massively different, in my opinion, to what happened with the DRM. I think it would have not had a bad success rate in Japan, because the Xbox One did get visual novels, just not that many, and not that, and they're wicked expensive. I mean, some of them are wicked expensive, and I wouldn't recommend getting them because they've gone re-releases on the Switch, and I would say grab the Switch copy more than the Xbox One copy. That's only for if you're like a collector and you want like a physical copy of, I mean, Deathmark. I think that's what it's called, but it's called something else in Japan. But it's Deathmark. It's like an $80 Xbox One physical copy that you shouldn't grab. And even Devil May Cry 4 Special Edition got released on the Xbox One. That I do have, and I'm happy I do have it because that's what I wanted. Because I know they're never gonna do a physical release over here. Maybe they will with more LRG, but well, I think I've already made my own video on that yesterday. So, I mean, yeah, I mean, this is just nothing new. I mean, the Xbox One is kind of like the Sega Saturn, but the only difference is the Xbox One was somewhat successful just because the Wii U was a complete disaster of a system. But there are similarities to Sega and Xbox, and we're going to see the same cycle as before, where Xbox One games are worth crap and Series X for a time being. For a time being, and wait 20 years when these systems become much more difficult to collect for and become much more difficult to get. Because when that happens, that's when 360 and Xbox One and OG Xbox will become more collectible, you could say. They already are. The OG Xbox is more collectible now. 360, it's only a hit or miss with some 360 games, including Japanese 360 games and European 360 games, but most 360 games are dirt cheap because you always go into a store and they have tons of 360 games because no one's buying them because there isn't demand yet. But as a whole, this is what's going to happen, will happen maybe, or maybe not. Let's hope for the best. I hope none of this happens, but I mean, I already have a big Xbox One collection. And I'm very picky at what I buy. I know some people don't think that, but I'm very picky. I don't buy those football games. I don't see the point. Maybe if I have a brand new copy, I'll be more like, yeah. And I do have a unopened copy of Mega Man Legacy Collection I got for free at GameStop because I saw it unopened. I was like, yeah, I'll keep this with me and probably grade it at some point because I do own a lot of brand new games that I'm not going to be opening. But yeah, that's about all. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and what's your guys' opinion on Xbox Walmart discontinuing Xbox copies? Maybe, or maybe they are. That's what I saw in the article because it was like something that was like Xbox. Walmart's discontinuing Xbox copies. That's what I saw. So I was like, I collected because it was like, oh my goodness, I don't know, like that. But I don't know. But yeah, that's about all. See you, scavengers.